up in the gym, still do your flow. I take care of my son, baby. I need my time, you need my time. No getting rest,
Yo, and we are back with Reading's Finest. Can we get a pew pew pew?
Pew pew.
And so in this section, pew pew pew.
A Johnny with a late.
A Johnny with the smooth commentary. He's like Ferb.
He's like mellow.
Ferb. Like,
Oh my God!
he doesn't
yes.
say much, but when he does, he's more of a man of action. You feel me?
Yes.
He's
If
mellow.
but he's a trolley too. But in this section, this is Reading's Finest, and so this is where we have a dedicated interview to one person from the city or somebody that we invite to the podcast to teach us something new. You heard us talk for the last hour and 10 minutes, so now it's...
I didn't know I need to teach you something.
Gosh, yeah, we got questions prepared.
Is it
How
bland?
about this? How about this?
Because I
Let me
can't
stop
say
you for a
bland.
sec. Let me check you for a sec. Because if you're talking about the finest, do you not have the finest sound in Reading? What kind of sound do you have? Wait for it.
Chris.
That was smooth.
And
That was really smooth.
That's amazing, because we definitely did not do that this episode.
No.
I know.
He was waiting for that one.
I was waiting too.
That was actually fire. Oh,
and
that
the
was so
cut with
sick.
it. Okay.
Shout out to Pagoda City.
Shout out to
Yes.
Pagoda City
Shout out
for
to
this
Pagoda
crispy ass
City.
sound, and shout out to
Wow.
Rhetorical for the fire ass videos. We appreciate y'all. Now to really get into Reading's Finest,
hey.
now you need a
Yeah, what's
proper
up?
one. Oh my god.
We need a fun fact.
Yes,
fact.
start off.
I've been to all the states,
Every state.
all of them, in the
Even-
U.S., not all the states in the world,
Even Hawaii.
all the United States, twice. Twice.
Alabama, Alaska,
That's not a state.
Arizona,
Who's going to
Arkansas,
Alaska?
California,
Actually, that kind
Colorado,
of snuck out. My fun fact,
Connecticut.
I had it ready, was going to be that if you give me any line from Hamilton, I'll give you the next line.
I don't know any lines.
I only know Macbeth. So.
This is on you, Marquise.
Yeah, Mr.
Marquise?
Theater
I'm trying to
major.
think- I'm trying to think, like, what should I
You
give
don't
my
have any lines.
Skylar
Well, there-
sisters?
Try it.
Oh, 'cause
Kat
I
and I have karaoke
yeah.
Hamilton.
Well, I can't.
Kat's my wife.
That's super dope, and none of us are.
You
We're
guys don't
all
like Hamilton?
uncultured
Cool.
swines, especially you, Marquise, because this is your forte.
Damn.
But
I'm
back
screaming.
to what I can do.
Okay.
Travel.
Travel.
So, what was your favorite state?
Pennsylvania. We covered this.
Are you serious?
I do love Pennsylvania. That's why I'm here in Pennsylvania. I got family in Pennsylvania. You got 4 seasons in Pennsylvania. You got mountains. You got rivers. You got a little bit of beach.
He's a neighbor. He's a
You
You got a
nature
little bit
kind
of
of guy.
beach.
You got a little bit of beach. You go up to Erie. Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I've been up there before.
And you can even look at Pennsylvania as a bottleneck because you got borders to Canada. You got Delaware going out to the Atlantic. So you got to go through Pennsylvania to get to the north, to New England, get out of New England. Pennsylvania's history and culture is important to me. Bree knows that I don't love everything about Pennsylvania.
I do indeed. We had this conversation earlier.
I hope not.
If I'm going to go to a state that's not Pennsylvania, I go to Maine.
Wow.
That's
trees.
why Maine.
With the moose.
Trees,
The
mountains.
You really are a nature guy.
you are.
Nature boy, yeah.
So I would have said Cali.
Yeah, Cali's whatever.
Facts.
Because I have been there, done that.
Hawaii.
Yeah, Cali or Hawaii. Actually, fun
Mhm.
fact: if you travel from the West Coast to Hawaii, it's like $299 round trip.
That's
Sorry,
why
just saying
we went a couple times out there because it's cheaper. We used to live in Vancouver, which is very cool, not in the States.
Okay.
Canada.
But we went to Alaska from there because it's like a jumping off point to get to Alaska. We went to Hawaii from there because it's cheaper. So, yeah.
See?
Now, West Coast is cool. West Coast is great about celebrating its natural resources. Not something we do real well in a lot of other
East
parts
Coast.
of the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, look, he actually just thought of something.
Done.
Yeah. But the second question we always follow up with is, who is Jess?
Who are you?
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. I'm a lot of things. I'm not one thing. I'm a librarian right now. That's my professional occupation
Where at?
at the Reading Public Library,
Shout out.
which can trace itself back to being the 6th oldest library in the country.
Wow.
What?
Talk about history. So we, you get a little creative with that history, but we were founded way back when, 1780 something, and I wasn't there, but I've been there a couple years now.
True story.
And I know that working in the library is a great way to help people, a great way to like hear what people are looking for and help them find it, help them get to where they need to be. That kind of thing is really empowering to me because I know that I have met people in the library and I know things that they wouldn't tell their friends. You know, it's a situation where it's like kind of like a bartender with no alcohol, where you gotta be available to somebody, be professional, and like help them with what they're looking for. And sometimes that's kind of sensitive, but also sometimes it's like I don't know how to use a computer, and they don't want to admit that. But it's like,
Right.
that's something we deal with daily. People who are sitting down at a computer, like mouse, keyboard, just basics and stuff we take for granted because we kind of grew up with it, or we've been in society, and other people maybe haven't been, if they're coming out of a different situation where they've been using a lot of cell phones, a lot of tablets, and they just don't have any use for a desktop, and here they are, got to apply for jobs, and they need somebody to help them through it. And I like being that person. I like helping them with that. I like feeling like I'm useful,
Yeah.
and there's value in that.
And what's your particular position at the library?
So my title is reference librarian, but I wear too many hats beyond that too.
I'm screaming.
So we do we have a lot of digital collections, adult digital library, like purchasing of ebooks and stuff. I do the serials, so we have a shrinking list of magazines because everybody's reading online, but we do digital magazines as well, so that kind of ties in. We do summer activities. It used to be called summer reading. We try to rebrand it summer learning because library is more than just reading.
Yeah.
We've been doing mobile outreach recently, and that's been really exciting because that's we take these vans that we got. We load them up with computers, mobile printer, some of our stuff from the reference desk, all sorts of materials, and then we just go out into parks. We go out into community partners. We go to homeless shelters. We go to we're setting up right now. Go to the Rock the Block down at Oak Brook, places where there are people who might not make it into the library. We try and get out to them.
Wow.
And it's fun because you see people, like we went to Reading Elderly recently, Reading Elderly right on Front Street. And the first time we were there, people were like, hello, and they would just walk by. That was about it.
Yeah.
Second time we went back, we had more people than we could handle. They brought their tablets down, they brought their laptops down, they brought their cell phones down. They want to learn how to send an email. They want to learn how to send a picture to their kids. And it's just, once we get there and people kind of see what we can do for them, then they're really excited about it. And until then, it's like they think of the library as a place that other people go for books.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to dispel with this mobile outreach, where we're just trying to get out and be visible. And we've got these vans that are kind of wild colored, so they're roving billboards, so there's
the
visibility
Mystery
there.
Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then once we get set up, once we start doing stuff for people, they realize that we're bringing the library and its services out to them.
That's actually really, really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So besides that, this is just like a fundamental question at this point,
Sure.
more philosophical. What do you find the value of a library, especially within an urban community?
From where I am, from my position at the reference desk, I see the value in helping connect people to where they want to be. And that comes down to information resources, which is a broad way of saying what somebody needs in their life. Anything can be an information resource. What I think the library is for a lot of people is a third place. People bring their kids there. It's a place that's friendly. It's a safe place. It's not a quiet place. So not much studying happens at the Reading Public Library because it's pretty noisy most of the time. But it's a place where people go to feel, like they're part of the community. And I have seen friendships develop and evolve and sometimes end in the library. And it's like a space where you just you see it's like a bar without alcohol. It's like you see regulars there. You see people using it as their office every day. You see people who do come in more conventionally, just picking up their books and going home. But they know that it's a place where you can get what you want and you can be there. And it's just a really central community location. And that, that is what I see downstairs on the main floor, seeing people walk in and out. Seeing families go upstairs. We got the teen loft upstairs. We got the children's department upstairs. Both are great spaces for family. I know that I got 3 kids. They always love going to the library. Right now, we're doing this shuffle with my oldest daughter. She's at daycare for the first half of the day, and then she spends the second half of the day at the Boys and Girls Club once I open up. And in between, I got to wait for my wife to come pick her up and take her the rest of the way. So we come into the library. We hang out in the children's department up there. And she comes in, she knows that she's got stuff to play with up there. We got books to read, and we'll go up and we'll sit there. And it's usually the last 10 or 15 minutes of my lunch break till I go and get her, come back, and we get set up there and wait for my wife to sort of come up and do the handoff. But, that's always a space, and it's in the middle of the day, so it's usually quieter in the children's department. But that's a space where we go in, and she just feels really comfortable there because she's been there a lot. And you see that with other families too. It's where they come in there a lot and they know what they're looking for. They come in, they know where to go. And the kids are just tearing up the steps, and people are saying no running, but we know that that's a good thing. That they're coming in there and they're excited about going straight upstairs to the children's department. And that's always fun to see.
Right. Besides that,
yeah,
you're doing another thing.
Yeah.
Right
So
now.
right now I also happen to be sleeping really well because I get home every night exhausted right now. and I'm also running for county commissioner. That's where most things are. I mean, family of 3 kids, that's pretty tiring in itself. But shout out to my wife; she's taking care of them a lot right now because I've been campaigning for Berks County Commissioner.
Yeah.
That's something that I see as an extension of my drive to serve. And I think that the county commissioners that we have right now are not really taking into account a lot of what people want and what people need, people being Berks County as a whole. And, I got disagreements with what they're doing. So I'm trying to use my voice to actually let them know there are things that they're doing that are a problem and that they're going to get checked on because I'm trying to, champion certain issues, in certain groups.
And my question for you is, first, tell us what a county commissioner is. What does this person do in this position? And then after, followed up with what actually inspired you, because you talked about it just briefly, but what actually moved you?
We have a board of commissioners, and every county in Pennsylvania is a little bit different. But in Berks County, we got 3 county commissioners, and the 3 commissioners are elected at the same time. So all 3 are up for election right now, and they run all of the county services. They oversee all the county spending. They administer county institutions. They work on fixing county roads. Any state funding that comes through the county, the commissioners allocate and figure out which groups are going to get it, whether or not it's like a community development block grant or Medicaid reimbursements going to the nursing home. The county commissioners kind of funnel that money coming from higher levels of government down to the local level. And they do a lot of things that people don't realize they do because it's not the sexiest of positions. So it doesn't get the same attention that mayors get. Even though, the population of Berks County is obviously greater than the population of any one city in Berks County. So the commissioners have a much wider area geographically, much larger service population, and more institutions and more services that the county is sort of responsible for managing and handling the funds that come in to support those services and institutions from the state and from the federal government. So those 3 county commissioners, the biggest thing that they've done that really was a problem for me and what got me into the race was they're trying to privatize institutions. A couple of years back, they first started talking about, this comes up every now and then. We've had the same commissioners for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
One of them goes even back into the mid-90s. And it's a situation where I think they've become really, really comfortable in their positions, and they're not looking for new ideas. They're not looking for new voices. They're not really looking to change things up. With respect to trying to solve problems that they might deal with. The issue that they started seeing was Berks County Jail the original part was built in the 30s. It can't be repaired at this point. It needs to be replaced. So their thought is, well, maybe we should privatize it. Berks County Nursing Home, they ran some projections and they used some numbers that did not look good for the nursing home. They said 10 years from now, this thing's going to be costing us millions of dollars. So we should sell it. It was the same effort. Like, instead of trying to actually take the bull by the horns and deal with that and address it and work through it, they're like, well, we should just privatize it and let some private company deal with it. I think both of those institutions definitely need to be protected in terms of the prison has a population of people who the county government is actually accountable to voters. A private company who'd be running that would be accountable to shareholders and bottom line and cost cutting and, making sure that they have a minimum occupancy. They're not going to be working on rehabilitating anybody out of prison. They're not going to be working on reducing recidivism. They're going to be focused on actually having prisoners in the prison. And that would be, a problem, to say the least.
And this is me just being facetious, but how does that affect the inner city residents as well?
Well, what we see, right now in the past couple of weeks, truancy is leading to people going to prison. And that kind of overzealous policing of a community for a problem that is not any threat to society, that's not a reason somebody to go to jail. And yet that kind of thing is incentivized when there's a private prison because they literally have in their contracts, if they don't have a certain occupancy rate being, prisoners, they get payments to support that. So they literally need to have prisons full. They need to have prisoners to meet the contracts that they sign with whatever municipality is they're serving. And if the government is going to put people in jail, they need to be the ones who are actually overseeing the time that they're in there and not some private company, which is really just seeing dollar signs. And that's the biggest issue with trying to privatize a prison. The nursing home, same thing. There's a population there who actually has a protection by the county government being the owners and operators of that. And if that gets sold off, we have nursing homes that are privately run all over the place. Some of them are terrific. and some of them are the opposite of terrific, where we see them going out of business and everybody's like living there. And now what?
Yeah.
This company just kind of went belly up. What happens to the people who are still in that facility, like trying to live out the rest of their life? So for Berks County to try and sell off the one county-owned nursing home, that's a real problem for me. My mother actually used to work at the Montgomery County nursing home, and they sold that off a few years back. And what you saw was the quality of care go down. You saw staff morale go down. You saw people heading for the doors, just trying to get another job, which is going to pay better and have better job security. And that's absolutely what happens when you sell off a county nursing home. And that's not to say every county nursing home is run really well. Some of them are not. But Berksheim has been really well maintained, and actually, the staff is fantastic. The quality of care is fantastic, and you go in there and you feel like you're in a good place where people care about other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the commissioners, they just saw this quote unquote problem where it was going to maybe be costing money down the road, so they just wanted to sell it off because they see it as a cash infusion, like a one-time chance to make some money, and a reduction in the services of government. And for some people, they don't think the government should actually do anything. They want to see as small a government as possible. And my personal political philosophy is that government exists to serve the people. And most notably, we see roads. You hear libertarians talking about small government, but they drove to work that day probably.
Yeah,
Not those, but like roads, bridges, those kinds of things people take for granted. And I think by extension, you need to have a protection for people who maybe can't afford end of life care. And anybody can get into Berksheim. There's a waiting list because it is a good facility. People actually do want to go there. But if you can't afford to be there, they're not going to kick you out. They're going to actually make sure that you get that care. Now, that goes back to whether or not the government should actually serve people. You see, medical assistance payments from the state going to the county for Berksheim. And one of the issues that the current Board of Commissioners has done a good job of raising is that the state's not increasing that reimbursement rate, but the expenses keep going up. Obviously, that's not sustainable. So they have been now pressuring Harrisburg and the people in Harrisburg to actually raise those reimbursement rates. That's an important part of the process. That's where they should have started, not talking about selling it off because they were scared of a deficit, a potential deficit.
Yeah.
They projected a deficit for this year. We're not in a deficit.
Yeah.
We're not there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the meteorologists; they're always wrong.
Oh yeah. They come up with this prediction. It doesn't really matter if they're right or wrong. They're just trying to fearmonger.
And then for you in particular, what do you want to see change? And then what could you possibly do if you were elected to your position?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I get when I'm out running is the first question you ask me: what is a county commissioner? What do they do? What does the county do in my daily life? Why should I care? And I think one of the things that goes into people not being aware of what the county commissioners do is that, if you live out in the township, if you live in the city, you see what your government's doing with respect to the meetings that they hold. It gets coverage in the paper, and they do cover the county commissioners' meetings as well, but it's at 10 a.m. on a Thursday. You can't really go to that meeting if you want to.
It's the middle of the workday.
We got a mutual acquaintance who has some issues with some current county official, and he wanted to go and raise that. But it just so happened that the day he was going to do it, they didn't hold a meeting.
Yeah, you know how that goes.
Yeah. But at the same time, he was talking about how to rearrange his schedule so that he could go and voice his objections to that, because it's always more powerful to do something in person.
Right.
When you want to have a voice, when you want to say something, it's always more powerful when you can do that with cameras on you, with the elected officials who you want to speak to right there in front of you. And at 10 a.m. on a Thursday, you're not going to be able to get there unless you take off of work, you rearrange your schedule.
Right.
Most people are not available at 10 a.m. on a Thursday.
Right, especially in the city of Reading, let me tell you.
So I want to see that be changed. I want to see evening meetings so that anybody who wants to go after work can do that. Sure, there are still people who work at 6 p.m., but it's going to be easier for people to get there. Yeah, well, you just tell me what you want said, and I'll say it.
No, I work 10:30 to 11.
So you want that 10 o'clock meeting?
No, I
10
don't.
a.m. No, you don't. Okay.
I work at 10:30, so I work in Lancaster, so I got to
Flipped, right. Okay. So the idea behind trying to be accessible, be transparent is important to me so that people can actually feel like they do have a chance to participate in their local government.
And then within that participation of local government as well, I think some people want to know, what does accountability look like for you? Because sometimes I think that's another space where we kind of lack within the inner city is how do we actually hold our city elected officials accountable?
Right.
That's very important.
Right.
Yeah. So if you were to start fucking up, how can we make sure you're not?
Well,
messing
no,
up?
don't worry about that. Don't worry about it.
We won't focus on the
No,
negatives.
let's talk about other people, not me.
Yeah.
What you absolutely need to be able to do is say that to their face. And it's always more valuable to do that in public when they know that the spotlight's on them. So again, that goes back into having a meeting when people can get there. One of the things the current commissioners do is they'll ask for public input. But if you don't go to those meetings and you don't know the routine, like that'll go by in a blink of an eye, and you won't even realize that was your chance to speak. If you don't get up, if you don't get your hand in the air, they will gavel the meeting close really quickly, because I think generally speaking, they don't want to hang around and wait for that. But I think it is important to, basically subject yourself to the public is what it comes down to. If you're going to be in the public eye and you're going to have the public trust, you need to be willing to like have uncomfortable conversations with somebody. And, I get at the library, a lot of times people don't realize what my role is. So somebody comes up to me and they say they want to go on the computer. My first question is, do you have a library card? And what they hear is like, let me see your documents. And it's like, that's not what I'm asking. I'm just trying to figure out how to facilitate you getting onto the computer as quickly as possible. If you got a library card, you don't have to talk to anybody. You can go right on. But what they hear is somebody behind a desk asking them basically like, let me see your ID. And I think it's important to, as a public official, try and put the brakes on any feelings like somebody who wants to speak to somebody in the public, that they don't have the ability to do that or they don't have a forum for that. It's important to try and encourage that kind of feedback, because what we see at the national level is a lot of people who are willing to just kind of stand on the sidelines and throw rocks at the process and swear off all politicians and swear off all politics. And I've never been of that mindset. I've always thought like, if I got something to say, I'm going to say it. And once I started running for office, the things that I wanted to say, I've learned to try and keep them in my head, think about them a little bit. And then when they're ready for, other people to hear, that's when I kind of let them out, because it is a situation where the things that somebody who's trying to run for office, trying to be a public servant, everything they say is going to get scrutinized. And it's important to remember that. But it's also important to know that everybody who's not in office has just as much right to say things about that office and about what that elected official is doing, because they are the ones who put them there.
Right.
Even if they voted against that person, they're still part of the process and they are still part of the electorate. And, I personally, I don't get the voluntary non-voting mentality, because I've always thought like that's sort of a right that literally people fought and died for, that we want to have a say in our government. And I think it's important to exercise that. If you don't want to, okay, but your complaints, they don't mean
become invalid.
Yeah, they don't mean quite as much if you're going to choose not to vote. One thing about voting is that it's not always convenient for everybody. Maybe you got an unusual work schedule that doesn't line up with when the polls are open. Maybe you work far away. You're not going to be able to be in your area when it's time to vote. One thing that is being talked about right now in Pennsylvania is no excuse absentee balloting, where you can say, I want to vote by mail. I don't need a reason why I'm not going to be at my polling place during the times that it's open on election day. You can send it in. You can send your vote in by mail. It's basically like early voting by mail. It's a way of making voting easier.
Yeah, I do think they need to make voting easier, especially because, like, I ain't trying to go. No, you're inconveniencing me. Sorry, Amazon got me. Like, commodify convenience, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that kind of thing is one growing area where people are sort of hearing more about it and listening to it and trying to say, okay, this is an issue that people want to hear about. So what can we do to fix the problem? Some states you can vote early, you can vote 2 weeks at a time, whenever it's convenient for you. Yeah, and you don't need a reason as to why. In Pennsylvania, it's a lot harder to vote.
I feel that. But shoot, I think this gets us into our rapid fire questions.
I'm here for it.
Because that was a awesome explanation. Not only from like what you do as a reference librarian?
Reference librarian.
Yes, reference librarian.
Yeah. Which is kind of an antiquated term, but you can call it book wizard. Yeah,
something. I'm gonna go with book wizard.
Book wizard.
Book wizard.
Book
like
wizard.
That.
Yes. Fiona found him on Harry Potter.
Book wizard J.
Yeah, book wizard J. That's your rap name.
Okay.
I expect some hot bars.
Yeah. Some new slogans.
I'll just start spitting Hamilton. You won't know.
Right.
I'm not throwing away my shot.
Yeah. Immigrants, we get the job done.
Wiki.
My guy.
Try me.
Yeah, I know.
You succeeded.
Yeah, you did. So what we're getting into right now, this is our rapid fire questions. So the three of us, Johnny, you want to throw? You know what? You throw some random questions.
Johnny shouldn't be allowed to say shit.
You know what, Bree? Don't talk no more.
You right. You right. You got that.
So what we're going to do is the rapid fire section. So each of us are going to throw 3 random questions at you. Try to answer them as fast as possible. All right?
Yeah.
Is there a time limit? Do I miss my chance if I don't say it?
As quickly as possible.
You're going to lose your shot.
That's going to, oh boy.
You're a librarian. You know the
sloppy.
definition of rapid.
That's a fact.
Don't look at me. I'm not starting.
You're not starting. Bree, go ahead.
What's your sign?
I think it's Capricorn.
When's your birthday?
January 16th.
January
Yes,
16th.
you
Yeah,
are.
you're a
You are
Capricorn. My God.
Shout out to
Nice.
Capricorn.
All right,
Is that
I'd
good?
vote for a
Capricorn.
Capricorn.
I vote for a
I'm
Capricorn too.
Capricorn.
Three
would
back
too.
I know
Capricorns on
I'm
the other
not.
side of the
I know
room.
I'm not an Aquarius because when I was a kid, I loved the song,
Oh,
and
You're not.
I was really disappointed when I found out that I just missed being an Aquarius.
Wow.
It's
Aquarius?
in January.
That's crazy.
that's so sad. But
Yeah, I
I
got
mean,
over it.
Capricorn's like the second best. song.
Capricorn is like the second best. I'm a Capricorn moon.
Second
Girl, don't
best.
try to.
I'm
Hold
like,
on.
hold on.
We're just gonna just
We're gonna
digress.
continue. And we told him answer these as fast as we start talking.
Guys.
Favorite food?
Pizza. It's perfect food.
Favorite movie?
You've got mail.
Oh. Isn't that a romantic
You're a rom-com
comedy?
guy?
I was.
That's
I'm here for that.
We
I
don't
can
watch
see
movies
it.
anymore. We got no time for movies.
Wow.
That's interesting though.
Yeah.
There's some problems with that
Johnny.
movie I want to point out,
I
but
forgot about
I still
Johnny.
like it.
Favorite song
Favorite song?
besides Hamilton?
But yeah, that's the whole thing. Favorite song? Box Cello Suites.
I'm here for that.
Cello, yeah.
I did play the cello.
If I have to pick one track, like a Desert Island track, obviously it's like 40 minutes long, but I'll pick that.
I'm here for you.
Any one of those.
Go, Bray.
That's not actually a song. There's no lyrics.
Yeah, no.
It's a
So-
piece.
Instrumental,
So
basically.
See, yes.
You need a song though.
Speaking of peace, do you play an instrument?
A couple. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, in answer to your question,
Okay.
by Billy Joel.
Billy Joel.
Oh, we fuck with Billy Joel
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mom's a piano teacher, so I learned piano. I played trumpet and French horn.
What?
I played the trumpet.
Hey!
Nobody cares, Marie.
I
Yeah,
marched
no,
the
you're just
mellophone.
mad.
You just can't relate. Okay, you're not
Right.
a musician.
How about
Right.
this?
You
How
should've
about
sat
this
there
for a
and
plug?
just
June
ate your food.
21st this summer, Make Music Upper Perk is going to be happening. You could hear me play if you feel so inclined.
What?
Yeah. My sister, my brother-in-law, and I, we get a little group together. We call it Ariel and her band of brothers. My sister's name is Ariel. And it's so Make Music. This is a sidebar.
So you left that fun fact.
I'm saving it. I was gonna say trump card, but that's such a loaded term. So this is an amateur music festival. Happens on the first day of summer, the longest day of the year. Happens all over the world. It's an international festival. Last I knew, there were 3 in Pennsylvania: Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Upper Perk, my hometown.
Wow.
Next question.
Next question. Your go-to book.
Ender's Game.
Oh, word.
You ever read it? Everybody should read it.
Yeah.
It's a quick read.
Yeah.
What is it about? I think I read it.
Kids killing aliens. That's what it boils down to. No, it's about so much more than that. Leadership. It's about camaraderie. It's a
I'll put it on my to-do list.
yeah.
Have you read
it's a quick
Becoming?
read. No.
I'm not voting for
I
you if you don't read Becoming.
The whole list is too long. I haven't read a book in. I don't
I
wanna talk
have
about
it. I'll
that.
let you borrow it. Actually, it's long enough that I've only got to like the first chapter.
So
I'm gonna get an
we're just
audiobook.
Marie,
That shit is
we're moving on.
stressful.
Marie, what's your question?
Favorite singer?
Favorite singer? Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I fucks with that. He's a
thought
rapper,
he
but
was-
He's a,
Sings.
he can sing.
I thought
You
she
can
was
carry
just
a
gonna
tune.
say
Yes.
Celine Dion.
a Johnny?
Mm.
He's so annoying.
Trash.
rapid fire.
Just take your pictures.
Hold on, go. You can go.
Thank you. I'll take a Johnny's too.
Giving out other people's
I had to
roses, taking
think.
other people's questions.
Gotta do it. Someone gotta
Right.
step up. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I can't play your parts.
Who's she
Oh.
talking to?
I don't know. She's not,
Not
talking to
me.
me.
I don't
Random
know.
man.
If you weren't doing what you shut up. What did you want to be when you grew up? What did you want to be when you were little? Younger.
I feel like you're expecting like a crazy aspirational answer. But
Yes. Wait, did you want to be a rocket scientist?
Okay, so I remember that one time my family went to. It wasn't SeaWorld. It was somewhere like SeaWorld. And my older sister, and I decided then what we wanted to be. And this is the only thing I remember from my childhood saying, like, I want to be which was never going to happen. I said dolphin trainer. My sister said dolphin. And it was like one of those things where we were both like, I don't think either of those is going to happen. I don't think I wanted to be a dolphin trainer when I grew up, but I did in that moment.
I am in tears. Dolphin trainer. I'm glad you didn't want to be because SeaWorld is the devil.
SeaWorld's terrible.
SeaWorld's
Yeah.
terrible. We do not endorse them unless they're
Yeah,
endorsing us.
I'm with you.
We're gonna
But, well, they'll have to-
reverse back to a Johnny for his question.
What is your favorite sports team?
Probably the Phillies. Yeah, no, it's definitely the Phillies.
For football?
No, they
Or
play
just-
baseball.
Oh, no, I'm saying like.
He's like saying
Hockey?
that.
Eagles, Flyers. I'm all about Philly sports.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's
say
what I was
his
saying.
favorite state is Pennsylvania.
Yeah, but there's
Okay.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Which
No.
has the
Philly-
worst,
Philly
was
sports.
voted
In
worst
Pennsylvania?
accents
That's
of
what I
America.
hear. That's what I hear.
I just found that out the other day. Worst accents ever. would be Pittsburgh.
Speaking of
What are you
accents, what's your
talking
favorite
about?
accent outside of America?
Oh. There's a reporter on WHYY in Philly named Mike and Scott. I don't know what her accent is, but it's fun to listen to. I don't know what it is. And my sister, who speaks, I think, like between 5 and 7 languages, she also
Casual.
cannot like pinpoint where Mike and Scott comes from. Thank
So I
you.
was like super hyped to have you on the show.
I'm honored.
Yo, you're awesome. But what we're getting into now is the Dearrdg segment. So this is basically our love letter to the city. This is anything we talked about throughout the entire episode or anything advice that you want to give to the city. So we're all going to go first, and then we're going to end off with you. All right.
Johnny?
You can go first. Since you
Now
wanna
I can
talk.
go first? Y'all are trash.
Go ahead, girl. Yeah, all this to
Ladies
say.
first.
Let's see. Oh my God. All right. Dear Reddin, know your worth and then add taxes.
I was going to say the first part. Now I was going to add the second part.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Wow.
Dearrdg, this episode we talked a lot about the double standard and having to work 10 times harder. In that space of working 10 times harder, do not forget to take care of yourself. Do not forget to understand that you are enough. And don't. Yeah. Oh, damn. And just keep living your truth. Live your blackness, and just know they're going to gentrify our genius. So we're going to continue to be. We'll be the standard. That's it.
Petty.
took mine.
Petty.
I'm just saying.
Okay then, I'll change it.
You don't got no choice.
It's okay to be mediocre.
Whoa.
Excuse me.
No, not at all.
Dear Redding, especially Black woman,
Yes.
just know you are enough because society keeps telling you you're not, and you always do have to work 10 times harder, but you are enough. You are the culture. Black people, you are the culture.
I like that. Johnny. Johnny is with the
Hold
culture
on
because
a
he's
second.
always late. That CPT is real when it comes to him.
I'm late.
Fashionably late.
What? I
What?
jog. What do you
Come
mean
on.
I'm late? I'm always on
Late
time.
and still not on time. Black ice, hot winter.
All right, dear Redding, never give up on your dreams.
There you go.
Simple to the point. All right.
Real.
Yeah, somewhat I was going to say was touched on. I was going to say, dear Redding, love yourself and do what you want to do to make your life better. You talk about living your truth. You talk about living your best life. Go for it.
I'm here for
Take that risk.
Facts.
There.
Right, take that risk.
We need our it's our segment.
What?
The-
Church
the-
announcements.
The church. I don't have any church announcements.
Peace.